When I was writing, during what inspired me to write Invisible Acts of Power was, as I was observing this, I thought, you know what I think? I think we are wired organically to read each other. This is how I began to get to where I am today, which is I truly grasp, as far as I am able to grasp in my little bitty self, which has put on 10 pounds, in my little bitty self, and I will lose that. And that's the result of France, and I blame France. Is the profound evolution that's happening in this moment is that these magnificent mystical teachings, what is in one is in the whole. What I do to one, what you do to one, you do to all. These, as above, so below. As it is with the Father, so it is here. All is one. These profound teachings, these mystical truths that we've held in our head and have prevented them from incarnating into our heart and incarnating, actually melting into us as living, active principles, as living bio-spiritual, theological, ecological truths are melting into bio-spiritual, ecological truths. And as they melt into us, they're animating different perceptual systems of a more advanced nature. They're animating the next level of light around us. And so they're sensitizing. If what is in one is in the whole, I am now going to start sensing what is in one is in the whole. I can't have a perception in my head that does not activate my capacity to sense that truth. I can't have the truth that of the law of gravity in me and not have a coordinating sense in me that if I go near the edge, I automatically, all of you know, if you go near the edge of something, you're going to go like this. You don't have to tell yourself, jump from fear, you're near an edge. Your whole system will go, whoa! And then you realize, I was near the edge. As soon as a high truth incarnates into you, what is in one is in the whole. Every part of you, it gets the message. Upgrade, move up a level, another floor. And along with that, all your senses, you start seeing the whole universe, every one of us, everything. Everything changes shape from within. Everything now looks incredibly different. You see a truth. The illusion fades away. Oh my God. Yet the idea that you are one is something you can argue with. An idea is not something that you relate to. It's something you talk about. It's something you think about. Let me give you an example. How many of you are parents? Okay. For those of you who are parents, is there any difference at all in your experience of when you thought about parent and then having a child? Any difference at all? Is there any difference at all from the thought to the experience? Tell me, is there? Yes, worse. Okay, so the experience is visceral. Is it in every one of your cells? So would you say you moved a level? The whole world looks different now that one of your own is wandering in it. Would you say that's true? Where is that one of mine? Would you say that's true? So now when you look at the world, is it safe for my child? Whereas before it's like, Whereas now, the world's a little bit more personal because your own is wandering the street. Would you agree? You agree? Absolutely. That's the difference when a truth becomes personalized. You feel it, you sense it, it talks to you. You see the world and it talks. The holiness of it, its language animates in you. And when the language of a truth animates in you, your consciousness becomes so attuned with the power of that truth. Like, I don't exist in a field of energy, I exist in a field of grace. You begin to think this word energy, this is pretty useless. I'm going to toss it out, and I'm going to replace it with the word grace. That's high voltage. That's going to change everything. It's going to change absolutely everything. You will not be able to look at another person the same way again. Ever, ever, ever. You're going to see the world through grace and not energy. Energy is a word that's nice, but it's useless. It has no healing ability, nothing, zero. It is an empty mastacholi noodle. Now, back to intuition. So what I realized when I was writing Invisible Acts of Power was that, you know what? We are becoming, our wiring is animating to the point where we are naturally reading each other even when we don't realize we're reading each other. Now, this is a very important thing for you to get. You have to get this. You're doing readings all the time, and every now and again you become aware that you are doing readings. For example, you will, what is that called? What do we call it? When you sit around, have a coffee, and then you're looking at people. Do you call it people watching? All right, but when you're people watching, you're doing readings. You are saying, oh, look at that person looks like, and you're doing archetypal readings at the speed of light. Oh, look, there goes a geek. There goes a this, there goes a that. And you can't stop yourself. If I told you, I don't want you to do one labeling, don't you dare do an archetypal reading, you couldn't stop yourself. Because this is your first chakra and it's instinctive. You're going, you can't stop yourself. It is part of your survival mechanism. You have to size up who's on the same street with me, but you're also wired because you are in each other's field, and it's a communication system, and you're sensing, do I have a contract with this person? Is this familiar? Is this familiar territory? Your souls are talking in the same way pilots say hi to each other when they fly through the sky. You're sensing each other. It is an archetypal sensing system. It doesn't matter if you consciously don't say, well, hi, here's my business card. It's an archetypal acknowledgement. This is what we do because we're all one and we're interconnected. There is no way you do not sense in every single person the vulnerability they have in the moment that you do those readings. Because you're wired. When you walk down a street and you walk past, I now deliberately observe this, whether people deliberately look the other way when they walk past a homeless person. And deliberately choose not to make eye contact with them because they can sense that person and they're doing a reading on them. They're doing a reading on them. And then they will tell themselves, oh, they probably have more money than I do, or why don't they get a job and do something respectful, or something like, as if people want to sit on the ground and ask for money. As if they decide, you know what I want to do when I grow up? I want to sit on the ground with a cardboard sign in front of me and beg humanity for a nickel. That's my ambition. But we sense that. We sense the vulnerability, and we're wired for this. And now that wiring in you is getting more attuned so that you are reading everybody. And in my opinion, that attunement is also what is making us more incredibly, this is the wiring of your soul. That's what's making us more bipolar, more depressed, more unable to function on the inside, more because we don't have the language for this. We don't recognize what's happening. We don't know how to attend to each other in spiritually intimate ways. This is soul intimacy. We don't have a way of responding to this kind of soul intimacy. We, thirdly, do not even realize we are magnets for psychic free radicals that collect around us, because in this world that we now exist, we are now more energy than matter. Maybe like 51% energetics. Remember this? We are moving to be, look at you. Your whole life, the moment you got up, I bet you weren't even out in your pajamas and you hooked up to the energy world to check your internet. I bet you hooked up to your energy communication system before you were even showered to see what was going on in your energy realm, to reach your energy world. Maybe many of you your occupation is in the energy realm. We are so in residence in the energy realm that today we have to schedule time in the physical. I'll put an hour for exercise. I have to move my form. I have to force it to get off the couch. And I reward it with a low soy cappuccino, double espresso, but no fat because I'm trying to move it. The way we are, we're so spoiled. Then we tell ourselves, we don't even call it walking anymore. We say we exercise. We have to give it a new vocabulary so we feel good about ourselves. We haul ourselves. Come on, get up. We have to actually get trainers to train ourselves to move again. Come on, let's go. Come on, you can do it. And then we reward ourselves because we've actually moved our body. What? It's the truth. It's pathetic, isn't it? Right. Remember when you were a kid, you just walked and you didn't come home and say, I walked, can I have a cookie? No, you never did that. But now we go in and say, I should have a biscotti. How far did you walk? I don't know. Check your monitor. Are you wired for walking? See, I walked. I'm all wired for it. Look at me. A bit fit, a wire, a this, a that, just to prove I actually walked. What? This is how insane we are. But this is how we have shifted and hold the physical in contempt. Let me just translate what this means. We hold the physical in contempt because what we do when we visit the physical, I think I'll go back in my body now. Oh my God, it's aging. And we can't get over that. Do you see lines? Oh my God, it's aging. Oh my God, what do we do about this? We have to go to somebody who can prevent aging. Got any vitamins? We have to, because we really think that the object of the spirit is to stop the decay of the physical. Get your spirit in shape. Do a little yoga so you don't die and you don't age and you don't look like this machine you're in is actually a vessel of life that every day gets older. And as you get older, you have to lie about your age. Don't you tell them how old you are. You have to lie. Any takers on your schizophrenia yet? Snap out of it. The contempt we have for the physical is unbelievable. Totally unbelievable. And then we pop out again and we get into the energy world where we kick into our computer. Let me see now. What fantasy world do I want? And we fantasy off. Fantasy relationships, fantasy porn, fantasy anything. And we just go off in la la land into fantasy anything. We don't even have to leave our houses anymore. We could just do whatever we want. We can create relationships in 20 seconds. We could be whoever we want. Let me see, I'll take a picture of this person, send. This is how we're living now. Relationships fill out a form. Let me see if I want to know you. Okay, this is the nutso-ness. And all the while, your energy system, all the while your wiring is getting wired to read your world more accurately, while a part of you is becoming more afraid of the world you're living in. I just need to point out this craziness of the world we're living in. Are you with me here? Huh? Well, your inner self is becoming more attuned to reading things clearly and with clarity, to not being afraid, to being more empowered, while your mental, emotional self is terrified. Okay? And while the mental self says, oh my God, I'm aging. Oh my God, I can't do, oh my God. While it's buying into all the survival fears, while the inner self is absolutely like, what's the matter with you? What is the matter with you? So this is part of the great collision. Does that help you out? Can you relate to that a little bit? That was a bit clearer? Okay. That's the name of the game. Okay. So when I was doing Invisible Acts of Power, I thought, I wonder what, spontaneous acts of service, that in fact, how many people immediately responded to their intuition to people and followed this theory I had, that they just knew someone needed help, or they just gut hunched it and thought, I'm just going to help that person. So I wrote a letter and I said, anybody ever have this experience? And I expected maybe 100 letters back. I got almost 1,400 in 8 days. And I read them all. And from that experience came the following. One, it is the most profound thing to read 1,400 letters from people who are sharing an experience that changed their lives. And that experience they can't wait to share. And it is an experience that I realized after hundreds of letters that this experience kept changing their life. And so for me, eventually I realized that these experiences qualified as scripture. They were not stories, they were scripture. They were a form of human scripture, of saying, I did this, but look at the transformation. That in fact, because they were responding in the moment to something that said, do this. They were following an order of an angel under grace, and another human life was transformed. And that's how grace works. Grace works in the moment. You don't get grace for next week. You get grace as you need it in the moment, just as you need it just in that moment. And when you follow it and you act on it, always lives are transformed or saved or healed in the moment. Always, always. Oh, there is no exception to this. There will never be an exception to this. That is the nature of grace. And it's very risky to ever say a sentence with the word always or never. And I easily do that with this one. And here's number 2 to this. All of you have heard your angels say, do this. And I'll bet you all of you have at least once hesitated and not done that. And if I asked you to write a list of all the good things you've ever done in your life before dinner, all the good things you've ever thought, all the good things you've ever done, all the good things you've ever inspired in others. And I want the list before dinner. And I mean in your whole life. I would hope you would say, is she crazy? And you'd just be like, and it would be so many you couldn't think. And it would be hard for you to even think, where do I start? How do I begin? Maybe a birthday. You'll start with the big. I did this birthday and you just, and then I had a kind thought. You just could not ever fill this out. Thank you for that. Thank God you couldn't remember it all. But if I said, how about your regrets? Can you write a few regrets? You won't have problems with regrets. Because regrets never leave you, never. And that's part of your angel's job. Your angel never lets you forget when you didn't listen, so that you never do that again. Never. It's an act of mercy. Mercy's holy language. Put that down. We're going to talk about that. Mercy is a holy language word. But when you are told, do this now. So when I was writing this book, I thought, here's a story you've heard me tell, I'm sure you did, but it so impacted me. The man's going to commit suicide. He's going home. He's going to commit suicide. He's standing on a corner. And the reason it impacted me, he showed up in an audience when I was doing the book tour for Invisible Acts. And he said, this is me. He's standing on a corner. He's thinking, I'm going to go kill myself. Should I slit my wrist or OD on pills? Do I have enough pills? Should I take the pills and then slit my wrist, then take the pills? He's debating while standing on a street corner. And there's a car at the sign, and so he looks at the driver and goes like this, but she looks at him, and he said he flashed her such a beautiful smile. And because of that smile, he decided to live. It was just like that. She must have shot grace. And it went right into his heart. Right into his heart. Now, you understand that, ladies, that maybe one of you was that woman. You have to get that. Did someone come here? Okay. You know what? Maybe when they open the front door, it's the wind tunnel from it. Okay. All right, got it. We figured it out. Okay. So here's the thing. I would read these, and I would think, wow. So then what I did was I thought, you know what? These are just so incredible. These are just like the stories in the scripture. I will be there. Call me and I will be there. I'll send my angels. Whether I was reading the Bhagavad Gita, or I was reading the Quran, or I was reading the Bible, or the whole Old Testament, or the New Testament, no matter where I went in the holy language, in the old world, in the Old Testament, and I have to take you back there this morning. We have to go there. No matter in these ancient teachings, it was the age when heaven said, these are the rules. If you call me, I'll be there. Just call upon me with faith. Holy language, we're going to go to this word shortly. Faith. With faith, call upon me and I'll be right there. I'll be right there. I'll be right there. Faith and trust, and I will be right there. And as I sat in my office, what I did every day as I was reading these letters is I'd go in, and little by little, day by day, I was setting it up unknowingly until I finally got it that one day, that I was setting it up like a retreat. I turned off access to me. I turned off my phones. I lit candles, and I would go into these letters and then take out the Bible, the Quran, all my holy stuff, which stacks up to here and it's everywhere. And I thought, oh my God, here's a story just like this. Here's a story just like this. Here's a story just like this. Here's this man hit on a motorcycle waiting for death, and he says, okay, take me, Lord, forgive me, and or send a healing. And here he hears these footsteps in the snow. Blood's rolling in his eyes, and this woman picks up his head and says, shh, an ambulance is on its way. You'll be fine. And it was in Canada, and this ambulance comes around, and it was a dark road. The ambulance should have run him over. He was expecting it. And then he thinks this woman who's holding his head on her lap called for an ambulance in the middle of this north woods. And they said, there's no woman here, and there aren't any footprints. Yeah. Met him too. I mean, and I would read these, and I would be like, and it was then, as I sat in my office, and I put it down, and I said, you are bloody incredible. You are doing the same thing now you did 2,000 years ago. No matter what country. And as soon as I said that, this light goes, and I had a grand mal seizure. I was out cold in my office. And so when I woke up, and those things are rough, guys. They're not fun. So, and they're called the mystics disorder, right? Yeah, and and the wiring changes, and you get burned. And I tell you, here's the blessing. They burned out my short-term memory. I have a really bad short-term memory, and it took a lot of my great vocabulary. I used to have the most exquisite vocabulary in the universe. And so now I have to have a dictionary, and in my house I have Post-it notes everywhere, because the smallest thing I will forget. So you have to put everything, I'm a stickler, you have to put everything back in my house where it is, because I won't remember. So I've paid this price for this. But I don't really care. But, and sometimes you'll see me wander. But I'll come back. All right. So what happened then was I knew, not immediately, but shortly after, that I was getting rewired. I knew it. And I could feel it. It was the damnedest thing, but I could feel it. But I also knew that I was kind of getting redirected. And then I was going to go down a different route. I could feel it. And there, I can't explain. It's a funny thing about mysticism. And I'm not sure how much you want to know about this kind of thing, because it's not really practical. But to some extent, I believe some part of it's happening to all of you, which is why I want to share it a little bit. In that, the thing about a mystical experience, no matter how slight or intense, is that it's not rational. Now, there's nothing rational about it. Nothing at all. And the second thing is that the way grace works, the way heaven works, is that deep in your gut, as frightened as you might be, and this is the signature of heaven, a jewel is placed there that says you're going to be fine. You're going to be all right. You have to trust this. So faith and trust go together here. So something profound has shifted in you. You don't know where it's going to take you, how bad it's going to get. and it might get really bad. And it did. I broke my forehead. I busted my nose. Oh, yeah. And then came Teresa. And then came Teresa of Avila. And as I sat on a chair like this one day, and I was teaching, and I'm going to teach on mysticism, and the room started to go dark, and I thought, oh, no. Because then I thought I'd fall and break my neck, and I thought, you're going to do that? And as scared as I was, and I'm telling you, drop dead scared. As scared as I was, there was a part of me that said, you better friggin' catch me. And it didn't occur to me that heaven wouldn't. It didn't occur to me that heaven would not catch. It didn't even occur to me. How about that? Isn't that insane? It didn't even occur to me that heaven wouldn't catch me. Thank you. So, when I was that experience with Teresa, where I heard that voice, follow me. I don't know how I knew it was her, but it was her. And I had no particular allegiance to her, nothing. She wasn't my big saint. She wasn't my big saint. My big saint was St. Jude. I was hardly familiar with her work. And in that second that I said, okay, and then I said, don't let them see this. Please don't let them see this. But all my students were like this because they thought something happened. And David thought I was going to fall off the chair. And then, all of a sudden, I knew her work as if I'd been a scholar. It just went, whoosh. I knew her work as if I had been a doctoral student. And for that full weekend, I taught Teresa. And I was observing myself teaching her, hearing it for the first time, myself. Myself. I was teaching myself and observing it myself, listening myself to myself. Right? How crazy is that? How extraordinary is that? How wondrous is that? How wondrous is that? When I got home, I went up and erased the book I was writing, deleted everything, deleted every word. And I told my editor the next day I was writing a book with Teresa of Avila. And there was a pause. There was a pause. And so then Leslie said, you tell that nun the deadline's in 6 months. Isn't that great? Isn't that the best answer? And you know what? Then I sat in my living room and I looked at my house and I thought, what have I done? What have I done? I've just put a contract that I can't pay back. I don't have the money to pay back. I'll have to sell my house. I've just put my career on the line. I've just gone from being a medical intuitive to some crazy-ass mystic talking to a dead nun. What have I done? What have I done? And then I thought, no, this is real. This is real. This is more real to me. And then the mail came, and I got a bookmark. And the bookmark from a woman I'd never met her, from England. And it was from a Carmelite monastery, and Teresa was a Carmelite. And I thought, wow, it's from a Carmelite, but I turned it over. And on this bookmark was the prayer, with God all things are possible, Teresa of Avila. A direct message from her. And I thought, okay, girl, we're in. So that began that life.
Carolyn, can you just repeat the message?
With God, all things are possible. Yeah. Yeah. So, with that in mind, what I want to now communicate to you is that you're wired the same way I am. I don't know that your lives will take the extreme because that's not your journey. But your journey is your journey. And your journey is to allow your wiring to speak to you. Is to recognize that your wiring is speaking to you. And to learn how to trust that, because that's the language of your soul. And so I wanted to start by, first of all, I asked you yesterday, what is your association with when you think of God? And when I have asked people in the past, and I hear this answer all the time, people will say God is love. Anybody? Any takers here? None? None of you will say that? You think that? Yeah. I'll tell you why I have a problem with that. And we'll start from there. And it's because what sends most people into therapy? Love. Issues of love. You don't know how to love. You're afraid of love. You wonder if you'll ever be loved. You don't think you're lovable. So how in the world, and why in the world, would you say God is love? When in fact you can't even relate to it as a human being. When you have something tactile to put your hands on, your mate, your spouse, your child. That's a preposterous way to see God, which is why most people can't relate to this off-planet anyway. So let's start with a word that might get you in the door. Faith. Now, here's the great challenge of our time. There is nothing in your outside world, nothing at all in the outside world that supports the word faith. Nothing. Which archetypally, symbolically is extraordinary. So I'm going to begin by saying the route to have a relationship with the sacred begins with having faith in yourself. Now, you may never have thought about that, but what you have thought of is the parallel track, which is self-esteem. And if someone had said self-empowerment was really the journey of faith, you would never have taken it. But because we talk about self-empowerment and self-esteem with a self, your ego fell for it. But in fact, it's a journey of developing faith in yourself. And unless you have faith in something physical, you can never, ever make the leap to something that is non-physical. So the first thing I'm going to ask you is, what don't you have faith in when it comes to yourself? Never mind what you have faith in. Name 3 things that you absolutely do not trust yourself. Faith and trust. You don't have faith in, but you wish you did. But you wish you did. Where do you doubt yourself? Now, this is what you call, you absolutely have faith that you will break, that you won't come through with something. So we'll go through the back end door of faith. It's like having faith in an addict. I absolutely know you're going to steal money out of my wallet if I leave the purse near you. That's shadow faith. You see what I mean? So I'm asking you to go through the door of faith in yourself, where you know, I'll say tomorrow I'm going to start going to the gym, and I have absolute faith I won't do it. Versus absolute faith I will. Do you understand what I'm saying? So the way we begin our experience with faith, and this is your thin little thread, to God. Because if you don't have faith in yourself, you will, here we go, you will never have faith in someone else. Never. You'll always be asking that person for some kind of proof. You'll always be waiting for that person to fail you. You, in order for that person not to fail you, you will always be using a little bit more of your strength to circle that person so they don't fail you. You'll be compensating for their weakness with your strength so they don't fail you. So you're not disappointed in them. Well, I'll make sure you, I'll do this for you. Because you know for a fact you have faith that they'll fail you. So rather than you be disappointed in them, you'll do it for them and then they don't fail you. Am I right or am I right?
Oh, that's fascinating.
It's accurate too.
Yes. Sort of like projection too, isn't it?
It's not projection, it's protection. So that you're not disappointed, so that you don't see their face, so that you don't have to deal with the truth that you have no faith in them whatsoever. And you have to admit it. And then it also keeps them dependent on you, which is exactly what you want. It's not a good scene. Why, do you have a relationship like that?
Somewhat.
Oh, that would be a yes. All righty. We'll end it there. All right. So write this down. What do you know as an example of shadow faith? So you know what faith is in yourself. That I know I can count on myself to not do this, even though I tell myself I want to do this. Or I wish I could, right? Just, write it down. Like, I wish I had faith in myself. If I said to myself, and here's another one. If someone says, can I trust you with this secret? And you say yes, do you know for a fact you're going to break your word? You know for a fact right then and there, you wish you had faith enough in yourself that you could trust yourself. I watched my brother say, don't tell me that because I'm not able to keep a secret yet. Now that, yeah, right. Because my brother draws the line and says, no. Don't tell me anything that's precious to you because it'll go right out the other end. And he said, keep it to yourself. If you need someone, go to a priest.
That's integrity.
But that's how integrous my brother is. He says, I value your friendship too much. Don't confide in me. Yeah. So this is where you have to say to yourself, what is it about me that I don't even have enough trust or faith in myself? So how could I have faith in anything or anyone? How can I expect them to have faith or trust in me? How can I have faith and trust in anyone if I don't even have faith and trust in myself? So put it down. Where do you fall short of this? Because faith is holy language. It's a tough go here. And this translates to, how can you have faith in any healer, in any healing, in any miracle, in the power of grace? You are filled with doubt, and doubt is poison. What?
For example, like
Not yet, but I want people are writing examples. Yuck. Do we need a break? Do we need a break yet? Okay, pretty soon. Okay, I'm not going to let you break yet. Okay. 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 Now, and the next, name something you have had a struggle in faith with. Or has it meant something to you? Well, in this question, what I'm referring to is, let me focus it because that's a big question. So let me focus this. That when it comes to the non-physical world and the presence of God in your life, if you had to water down what it is you have doubt or faith, what do you name? Like, if I said, what do I have faith in? I have a deep and abiding faith that the divine is absolutely present and hears every prayer and every prayer is answered. I do not doubt that. I have experienced it and I know it and I do not doubt that. I couldn't teach it to you. I won't teach anything I don't believe. I won't. And if I didn't believe it, I would tell you, this is what I have doubts in. I do not doubt that, not 1 second of it. And so I have absolute faith and trust in how intimate heaven is. But I think for a lot of people, that is not something they have faith in. And for a lot of people, I don't know that that's even important for them, to have an intimacy with the sacred. I don't know what if that matters at all. So what I'm asking here is, what do you need to have faith in? What is important for you here? What matters to you? Yes. Yeah. Could we?
So I get that if you don't have faith in yourself, you can't have faith in other humans.
Is that microphone on? Yeah. Okay. You have to hold it, I think, close.
So it is possible, though, yes, to have more faith in the divine and the guidance than yourself, because I feel that's where I'm at. I don't always have faith in what I think, as from in a personality standpoint, but I have greater faith in my angels or the divinity. Okay,
yeah.
so that works. Yes.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah. I think let me explain. I maybe want to describe that a little bit more. Put a little clarity on that. I think it's totally possible, and in fact, in many ways, a lovely way, to have a deep and abiding faith in the divine, and then and lean on that faith, knowing that your own judgment at times tends to be more fragile. Tends to be, which is why you have faith. I mean, I know in my own way how oftentimes I get very reactive. I have a very reactive personality. And I get very reactive about how I wish things were. How I wish things were. How I wish the decisions were made in this world. How I just don't get why there's so much cruelty. Why there's so much selfishness. How it makes me nuts. It makes me nuts. And I will own it. And I get really not nice. And my thoughts get hostile and ugly. And I know that doesn't help anything. It doesn't help anything at all. And when I see the selfish decisions made, I see heroes being criticized. I see people in cages. Oh my God. The nights I'm up praying, thinking, you got to save these kids. I mean, I don't know what you're going to do. Send angels with blowtorches, but get them out of there. And I think how I see things needs a lot of help because it's not helping. And if I had to make a decision in that moment, I know my decision is not going to be on target. So because I'm saturated in what the moment of history is telling me and not the clarity of evolution. And that's the difference between seeing, if I could compare it, seeing a moment in the personality of our human collectiveness versus our soul's collective journey, versus our personality thrown together. It's the difference between looking at each of us through our personality that might be having a moment, and then looking more deeply into our soul that's having a journey. So our soul is on a journey, but our personality might be having a moment. Are you with me here? And if you judge a human being by the moment, how cruel to the soul. And this is where that wisdom is, don't judge, do not judge. Because you're looking at the moment. And you must be able to see clearly through to the soul. And the skills that are emerging in us are soul skills. And if you were in a moment to say, be still here. And I love this teaching in Taoism. Don't get attached to a spectacle. Eruptions in the moment are spectacles. You know, you're frustrated in the moment, you're like, oh, and you kick a car. Because your engine's not starting when you need it to start. And if someone saw that, they'd think she's just a hysteric. But they wouldn't know that you have to get to the animal hospital because you're animals, and this is the worst possible thing, and it might cost you your dog's life. Of course you're hysterical, but you're not hysteric. But they're taking the moment. And this is part of your training. This is part of your soul training. You have a gear in you. You can take an elevator in you and say, I'm looking at this now through the illusion, and I'm looking at the personality. I've got to get out of this because I can't see clearly. I got to get out. And if you look through that lens, you'll satisfy what your ego wants to see, but you will not see clearly. And number two, you will create an anchor for yourself because you will have satisfied some part of your darker nature, but you will not have seen through the light. You'll allow yourself to do a judgment on someone that will make you feel better about yourself and less about them. But it will have cost you. It will have cost you because I said you could pull out sacred language. And sacred language, holy language gets you out. A word like mercy, I said to put the word down. If you said, whoa, 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 drop me some mercy fast. I need mercy and I need compassion and I need it now. I need it now. And instantly your heart goes whoosh, and it changes the lens of what you're looking at. Even the most horrific person, even in the most horrific circumstance, even the most horrific, in that moment you might see through to their childhood. You might see a glimpse of something that you can't see through your eyes, but your soul can see it. Your soul can see it. Your eyes can't, but your soul can. And these are these micro mystical experiences that you're wired to have. And your soul gets it. And you see soul to soul. And this is the kind of knowledge that, holy knowledge, that calls upon you to respond to that person with prayer. And it doesn't mean that you look at that person and say, well, it's okay that these things happen. That doesn't make any cruel things okay. But a judgment only makes cruel things continue. But a prayer, somehow, in some way, helps that soul to maybe heal and never do it again. Or some person somewhere else on the planet who's about to do the same thing won't. Because the prayer is delivered to them. So someone somewhere else who's about to do the very same thing, slap some woman in the face or beat some child up, will suddenly have their hand think, no, I can't, because you looked at this person and instead of hating them, thought, dear God, what drives a person to be so empty and wounded, and for all of those who are standing in that man's shoes. And you say a prayer of healing. Because hatred put that, and hatred does not heal. And it is very difficult to pull out holy language and say, mercy on all who are standing in that pain. Mercy. And you pull out holy language. And that's the power of it. Am I making sense to you here? Your soul can see what your eyes cannot. And it is a choice. It is a choice every moment of your life to say, I have to see this through the eyes of my soul. And it is a choice. And sometimes you're never going to want to make that choice, I promise you. I promise you. You are not going to want to, you'll be standing in self-righteousness and you'll think, oh no, there's no way I want to see this through my, no way, I'm liking it right here. Because I am so right. And I'm liking the way I feel. But those feelings of being self-righteous and right, if you'll notice, last for 20 seconds. They're very short-lived. They're kind of like a bad drug. And what happens is afterwards you feel so isolated. And that's the consequence of a false feeling. It's not genuine. It's never genuine. Whereas no matter how hard it is, when you really force yourself to say, I got to get to soul. I've got to get to soul. As hard as that is, the feeling of well done never leaves you. Grace never leaves you. Ever. Which is why the holy language is so powerful. What is mercy? What is that grace? I mean, what does it mean to have mercy? To withhold judgment, to say, have mercy on that, or to put mercy in my heart. Put mercy in my heart. I do not want to see a human being through the lens that I think I'm better than them, or I know better, or don't put me there. Do not put me there. Do not put me there. Ever. Don't put me a step above. Do not put me in a place where I need to be better than someone. Get that out of me, like a bad cavity. You keep me eye level with every human being. Humble up is the greatest grace of all. Humble up. The moment you need to be better is the moment you're in trouble. Big trouble, not little. Okay, so the eyes of the soul, big, and the vocabulary of the soul. Okay, so I need to give you a break. The coffee's arrived, so take 20 minutes, and don't wander the streets.